some point when we were kids and we discovered dandelions in these white puffy tuft forms, we thought that we could get rid of them by blowing on them. That if I would just do this, I might be able to get rid of that dandelion. I think as kids we thought blowing on it and getting all those little tufts to float away, that was destroying the dandelion, until somebody told us later on, these are not actually destroying the dandelion, this actually is how dandelion seeds are spread. The very action that seems like it's destroying the dandelion actually is what helps it to spread and scatter its seeds so that more dandelions will take root in all sorts of other places. There's something to that same kind of surprising logic when it comes to the story of the church as well, that really is sort of the same way that the death and resurrection of Jesus works. The powers of the day think they're doing something to destroy the movement of Jesus, and it turns out the very action they're taking to destroy it is exactly what scatters the seeds to make life spring out, right? The empire tries to kill Jesus, putting him on a cross, and it turns out the cross is the exact place at which God defeats the powers of evil, and Jesus' resurrection shows that his life isn't destroyed in the cross, but is broken open into new resurrection life. Same thing happens for the early church. As we've been taking a look through the gospel, or rather through the book of Acts, we've been noticing how at the very points the powers of the day want to clamp down on the Christian movement, they actually are sort of feeding it and scattering it and empowering it. This last week we took a look in Acts chapter 8. After the death of Stephen, this early leader in the church's community food program, he got put on trial for speaking the news of Jesus, and was upsetting the religious leaders who managed the temple. And at the end of that, a lynch mob forms and they stone Stephen to death outside the city gates. After that, a huge wave of persecution strikes down on the church that at this point had only been localized in one place, in the city of Jerusalem. And when the persecution happens, Christians are now scattered out to all the surrounding places in Judea and Samaria. And the powers of the day thought this was them stamping out the Christian movement. Instead, they're scattering dandelion seeds. That like a dandelion tuft, the blowing of the seeds helps actually scatter them into other places so they spread all over the place. And then we get stories of the leaders in the Christian community, including another one of those food community organizers by the name of Philip, going to wherever he gets sent, to the people in Samaria. And even though in Jesus' day, a lot of folks looked down on Samaritans as though they weren't acceptable. Their accent, their culture, their dialect, their religion, they were all wrong, and they were considered, outsiders and unacceptable. Philip is convinced God sent him here to tell the good news to the Samaritans, so he does, and he preaches to them, and they hear the good news of Jesus. They want to be baptized, and they're brought into the community of Jesus as well. Including then, Philip has another exciting moment where the Spirit catches him up, and he goes on this wilderness road and runs across an outsider's outsider, an Ethiopian eunuch. Here's somebody who is ethnically, racially very different, right? Skin color different, not just similar or related tribe like the Jews and the Samaritans had some overlap and similarities. This is someone who's definitely sub-Saharan Africa, someone whose skin color is darker, language is different, religion is different. On top of that, he's a eunuch, which means he doesn't fit the traditional gender categories, right? He's somebody whose sexual reproductive organs don't function the way others do, and that makes him sort of a pariah in some sense by some people. And as Philip runs across him, and this guy's reading from the book of Isaiah and wondering about it and inquiring, and as Philip tells him about not only the prophet Isaiah and who he's talking about, but then moves on to tell him about Jesus, and clearly at some point says that Jesus has now begun this new community, and anybody and everybody's welcome into it, and we're baptized into this new community. The eunuch stops him and goes, well, there's water over there. What's to prevent me from being baptized? This is one of those big moments, right? Philip could have said, well, there's a long list of reasons why you're not acceptable. Instead, he says, no, this is for you too. It's another moment where what seemed like the instance that was about to destroy the church, the persecution that crushes or scatters everybody from Jerusalem, actually turns out to be like blowing onto dandelions, scattering seeds in all sorts of directions, so that even to this day, Christians in Ethiopia trace their story and their lineage back to the Ethiopian eunuch from Acts chapter 8. This is how God operates, that when the powers of the day are conspiring and working against God's movement through Jesus, we don't respond by fighting evil with evil or more force with more force, but the very things they think will destroy us actually become the means by which we can share the good news of Jesus with other people, to outsiders radiating further and further out, just like Jesus had said in the opening verses of the book of Acts, that we would be his witnesses, not just in Jerusalem, but out to Judea and Samaria, and then to the ends of the earth. That means you and I fit in this story as well. And you and I might be a part of how God reaches out beyond whatever boundaries or barriers we imagined to reach somebody else with the good news of Jesus.